What's going on, everyone? It's Dungeon coming back with another Tactics Ogre Reborn hints and highlights video. And in this one, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 beginner's tips. So, if you're wondering how to quote-unquote get good at this game, you've come to the right place. Let's get right on into it. Alright, so the first thing I gotta say before we get to the list is that these tips are in no particular order. So with that being said, let me go ahead and give you guys my first tip, and that's to use the AI for the training battles as soon as you unlock it after the first couple battles. Now, what this means is that you're actually going to get the option to put your own troops under AI control so you don't actually have to control them yourself. And I gotta tell you that I'm not going to recommend this for story/plot battles. But I am going to recommend this for any kind of training battles that you're going to use to just gain XP or farm for unspecified loot or money. And what this also means is that if you are going to go ahead and try to farm for something special or a particular item or even recruit some new random characters, I probably am going to tell you this is not the best option. Furthermore, when using the AI, you definitely have to be a little bit wary because you have to keep an eye on your consumable inventory. These AI are not going to hesitate to use your consumable equipment on your characters, so make sure you don't have anything equipped that you're not willing to part with. But with these caveats in mind, as long as you're actually not trying to do anything too specific with these training missions, it's going to be a fantastic tool to use. Moreover, you actually have a few options to delegate your troops, specifically unit by unit, a few different configurations for the AI. You can be a fierce attacker, an ardent mender, distant striker, stalwart defender, and these options give you a bit more depth with the idea of having AI control your troops. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and argue this is a massive quality of life upgrade to this genre of games. And the reason is because it just kind of removes that more laborious grind and it makes your experience just more enjoyable, more fun, and you don't have to worry about that grind so much. It's not as real, and it makes the game just more fun. Second tip that I have for you guys is to manage your money early on in this game. The reason is because you really don't have a whole lot of money to start off, and you have actually no means to grind for more money. So basically, don't buy equipment that you're not actually going to need, and you also may want to carry at least one, maybe 2 clerics in your group at all times so that you can reduce the amount of money that you may want to spend on mending leaves. So basically, with that out of the way, I do have a second part to this tip. However, for those of you who don't want any spoilers for this game, just go ahead and use the chapters down below to skip to the next tip, so that you don't actually see how you can make money really easy in this game. Alright, so I gave you that warning. Basically, what you have to do in order to make easy money in this game is in the second chapter, you're going to come across a special crafting book that's going to allow you to create blowguns. And basically, all you got to do is create these blowguns and then sell them. You create as many as you can and then sell as many as you can, and you'll basically be making hand over fist. And you basically just rinse and repeat, and you'll get as much money as you want, actually. And you can actually see in the example that I have playing in the background that I think it cost me a little over 1.5 million goth to create almost 1,000 of these blow darts. And when you sell them, I'll make over 4 million in total goth selling it. So obviously you're making, on each cycle of this particular one, I'm making 2.5 million. So you just keep doing it and you get as much goth as you want, and you really should have no problem with money after this point. The next tip is to recruit winged characters early on. The basis behind this is that they can fly, which is a massive advantage throughout the game, especially when you have a limited amount of options for movement. Furthermore, the winged humans in particular can be found early game, and they actually have almost every class available to them in the early game with few exceptions. Moreover, there's a super special class they have available only to them. It's called the Vartan, and it's awesome. It's equipped with magic, it's got a good melee and range weapon selection, and it's got excellent stat leveling bonuses. The best you can get in the beginning of the game, actually. In fact, Canopus is one of these classes starting out. The problem is that the class is super rare to get your hands on because the Peregrine mark is just hard to find. However, that being said, I can tell you personal experience, I actually got 3 of these actually marks in one of the final battles of the first chapter, so definitely possible. You basically just got to kill one of the winged humans in one of the swampy areas, basically. Now, that being said, having winged units on your team is going to be super helpful on maps that have water, maps that have multiple levels of height difference, and definitely want to get these. As far as recruiting them, basically what you'll have to do first is you have to have the appropriate recruiting skill. So recruit human for the human winged units, and recruit beast if you want to get a griffin or a cockatrice. And by the way, the Griffin is super amazing. If you haven't been playing with the Griffins, you're missing out. In fact, I think that's my favorite beast or dragon creature. Now, that being said, basically what you have to do is whatever unit you're trying to recruit, you want to get their HP down to critical. So basically they'll be blinking red. Lastly, what you want to do is get your recruiting character basically right next to them, one square adjacent to them, and for every square diagonal or just further away, it's going to dramatically drop the chances of recruitment. And the chances is actually already really low. Usually it's around 30% and not usually higher than that. However, here's the silver lining. If you fail, you should use the Chariot Tarot to change something. Either go to a different space or do something before or after you are trying to recruit. Just do something different, and you'll eventually, playing with different options, you'll eventually be able to recruit the character. And it may require you to go further back and to change what some of your other units are doing earlier in the battle. But I assure you, you can do it, and more than likely it's going to be well worth the trouble, even though it may be a little bit on the frustrating side, because having these units, they are so worth it, guys, especially throughout the entire game. So if you get them early on, you don't have to worry about some of the tougher battles later on in the game. The fourth tip is to level up whenever you get a chance. In this game, you can't actually do random battles to level up, but you can do training missions. The problem is that you'll have a limit as to what level you can get up to, and that limit will raise the further along you get in the story. So, whenever you have an opportunity to train in order to raise your characters, you should. Make sure you're also using the AI option for your units when training, as I said in one of the previous tips. Now, the reason you want to train when you get the opportunity to gain levels is because some of these battles are real difficult. So in order to avoid some headache, train your characters up to the highest level possible. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that characters actually have weapon ranks. You see, you have ability slots, about 4 for each character, and you can allocate class abilities or weapon skills into. You actually get experience points for these weapon skills, and they'll rank up. So as a rule of thumb, you actually, for every 10 ranks you'll get a special finisher move for each of these weapon skills, and they do tons of damage. The thing is that they will use a little bit of MP to initiate. Moreover, your characters get bonus damage whenever you use the same weapon as the weapon skill that you have equipped in your ability slot. So it's super important to focus on attaining these weapon skills, ranking them up for each unit, and making sure that you're ranking up the specific one that your unit is choosing the weapon to use. There is a caveat with all this said, of course, and basically what that is that your weapon skills don't actually translate very well for your casters. Like, for instance, clerics don't really get any bonus healing or anything out of using your weapon skill for your catalyst. And wizards really only get a minimal bonus to their damage when using the weapon skill for their catalysts. So it's probably best for your casters to just equip other abilities that help you cast spells better or more frequently. So basically, all in all, make sure that you are ranking up your characters whenever you get a chance. Make sure that you're ranking up those weapon skills whenever you get a chance. And try to hit those maximums. And remember, every 10, that's when you get those finishers pretty much. Alright, guys? The last main tip is to regularly check your war reports. In it, you'll have a super important section called Talk that you'll want to regularly check. This Talk section will give you special missions and opportunities to recruit special characters in the game, and many of these special characters are super awesome and powerful. Also, in the war reports, it does include music, titles that you've acquired through the current storyline, people that you've met in the world, previous cutscenes that you've experienced, and something especially good for new players is a section called the Play Guide, which basically informs you about how the game mechanics work. So basically, the takeaway for all this is that you really want to regularly check the talk section. I mean, pretty much after each and every main story mission, make sure you're taking a look at it. And in addition, a little bonus tip, you should also be traveling around the world in between missions, because sometimes in order to trigger some of these special missions, you have to be at certain places at certain points of the game. So basically, don't overlook the Warren reports, guys. The absolute last tip that I have for you guys is to do yourself a favor and save the game frequently and on multiple game files. Also, check the victory terms for battle before and several times during each battle in order to get the extra bonuses that they award. And when I mean check until you actually acquire these victory terms, because otherwise you could totally lose out and potentially decide to redo the battle. And I'm speaking for experience, y'all, so take my advice. It's happened to me. Alright, you guys, that concludes this episode of Tactics Ogre Reborn, Hints and Highlights, where I shared with you my top 5 beginner's tips. If you had fun, if you learned something, if you enjoyed watching this, hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon so you don't miss another video, and as always, thanks, stay cool, and bye everyone.